The chicken was overcooked, and I didn't say a word. Not because I was scared of her reaction, but because I didn't care anymore. It was one of those quiet Tuesday evenings where the refrigerator hums louder than your wife does. She was slicing her meat with a little too much enthusiasm, like the knife was settling a score I didn't know about. Then, mid-cut, she said it, without looking up. He told me I laugh more when I'm not with you. No wind-up. No context. Just that sentence, dropped on the table like a grenade with the pin already out. She didn't even glance up to see if it hit. Just kept sawing at that poultry like it owed her money. I looked at my potatoes. Suddenly, they tasted like drywall. Now, I'd like to say I threw my glass against the wall or stood up and demanded answers, but I didn't. I just blinked. Quietly. Because somewhere deep inside, I already knew. You don't drop a line like that unless you've rehearsed it in front of a mirror a few dozen times. And she said it with the kind of cold that doesn't come from anger, it comes from certainty. I pushed my chair back, slow, deliberate. And she paused for the first time that night, like she finally realized I wasn't a mannequin. She looked up. And that's when I saw it, the surprise. Surprise that I wasn't going to beg her to explain. That I wasn't going to stay put like a good little husband. I didn't grab a jacket. Didn't grab my phone. Just walked out in socks into the cold. Outside, the world looked the same. But it wasn't. The dog down the street barked like always. The neighbor's porch light flickered like always. But I wasn't walking on the same street I used to know. Because now I was walking away from a woman who told me, in the most mundane way possible, that I wasn't enough. I made it about 4 blocks before the questions started hammering their way in. Who was he? How long had this been going on? Was it an affair or a future she was planning with someone new? Then came the worst one. Why did I let it get this far? Later that night, when I circled back, I didn't go inside. I stood by the front window, watching her move through the kitchen like she was hosting a cooking show. Humming. Hair brushed. Like nothing had been detonated at that table. Then I saw the envelope on the counter. Cream-colored. Gold wax seal. Confetti in her hair. Not the kind you buy at Target for a girl's night. No, this was celebration confetti. She hadn't just slipped. She had danced into betrayal wearing a red dress and a new laugh. That night, I didn't sleep. I didn't rage either. I just sat in my truck with my head against the steering wheel, listening to my own breath like it was someone else's problem. And somewhere around 4 a.m., I made a decision. Not to yell. Not to cry. No, my version of revenge was going to be precise. Quiet. And permanent. The morning after she dropped the confession like it was a grocery list, I stood at the mirror brushing my teeth, watching a man I barely recognized. My reflection looked like it had been hit by a slow-moving train made of denial and bad decisions. In the kitchen, she was humming again. Always humming lately. Like a human screensaver. I walked in and grabbed my wallet off the counter, just like I had every morning for the last 8 years. Routine. Repetition. Ritual. But this morning, something was different. That envelope was still there. Gold wax seal. Embossed edge. Cream cardstock that screamed money and secrets. I picked it up like it might bite me. And there it was, printed in cursive so delicate it looked ashamed of itself. You were cordially invited to celebrate the engagement of Tessa Marie Whitlock and Rory James Calder. Rory. So that was the he. Not some vague coworker. Not an old friend. A man with a last name, a tux budget, and apparently zero concern about dating someone's wife. I didn't say a word. Just placed the envelope back exactly where I found it. Centered. Undisturbed. Because if she wasn't going to tell me, I wasn't going to help her lie. She turned, sipping her smoothie, pink, bubbly, full of whatever hope tasted like when you were betraying someone. You heading to work? Yup. You okay? I looked at her. She had confetti stuck in her hair still, 2 pieces, clinging on like stubborn guilt. I'm great. She smiled. That smile. The one that used to mean something. Now it looked like a cheap costume someone forgot to take off. I walked out, keys in hand, heart strangely steady. Because now I knew. Knew the name, the face, the RSVP she never planned to show me. The good part about the truth? It gives you options. Ugly ones, sure. But at least you know what cards are on the table. I didn't go to work. Instead, I drove to a coffee shop 2 towns over. The kind with mismatched chairs and baristas who wear beanies in July. I sat in the corner with a black coffee and my laptop, staring at the screen until the cursor blinked itself into judgment. What now? Divorce? Too obvious. Confrontation? Too loud. Violence? Not my style, not yet. But vanishing? Now that had some poetry to it. Not just leaving, but but orchestrating something cleaner, something permanent, something she wouldn't see coming because she thought I was too boring to do anything but sigh and fold my socks. You don't expect the wallpaper to suddenly move. So I started writing a list. Not dramatic, just logistics. Access to our joint account still active. My passport still in the drawer. Her calendar synced to our shared cloud. The backup storage drive in my desk drawer. My old college buddy Caleb runs a printing shop in Asheville. Owes me 3 favors and never asks questions. This wasn't about making a scene. It was about making her live in the silence she created. A world scrubbed clean of me. No note. No message. No fight. She wanted a future with Rory? Fine. She could build it on the ashes. That night, I waited until she went to bed, because of course she still slept under the same roof. Still moved through the house like I was a ghost with a mortgage. I heard the shower run. Heard her hum something light and forgettable. At 11:03 p.m., I logged into our photo cloud. There they were. Photos from that same party. Her red dress, his hand, her smile that I hadn't seen in months. She captioned one of them, couldn't say yes fast enough ring dot. She never posted it. Just saved it privately. Like she wanted to remember her betrayal in HD. I didn't delete anything. Just copied them to a drive. Labeled the folder, reality. Then I went to the garage and opened the old lockbox, wedding keepsakes, anniversary cards, ticket stubs. A little museum of things that apparently meant nothing to her anymore. I took exactly one thing, our wedding photo. The one where she kissed my cheek and whispered, "You're my home." I printed it, slipped it into an envelope, and on the back, I wrote, "You found something new, but I still remember who we were before you stopped trying." Then I added a second envelope. Inside, one of those engagement photos. Just her and Rory, smiling like they'd built a castle out of someone else's ruins. And on the back of that, "May your new home never need a foundation. You forgot to pour one." Around 2 a.m., I packed the rest of my things. Left the mug she bought me. Left the slippers I always wore. Left the keys on the hook, like I was just out for a walk. Then I drove to the one place she'd never look, the lake house her uncle left us in his will. Technically mine now. She'd never go there again, said the bugs creeped her out. I lit the fireplace. Made a bed out of old cushions and blankets. And for the first time in weeks, I slept. Not because I was okay, but because I was finally moving. She'd find the envelopes in a few days. I knew her routine. She'd wonder why the milk was still full, why no socks were on the bathroom floor, why the kitchen radio wasn't tuned to my morning station. And when she realized she hadn't been left, but erased, surgically, precisely, she'd finally feel what I felt sitting at that dinner table. Powerlessness. And that was just the beginning. The lake didn't care about my problems. It stretched out in every direction like glass that forgot how to reflect. Still, cold, oblivious. The kind of silence that wasn't peaceful, it was honest. Out here, there were no dinner tables, no calendars, no red dresses. Just me, a fire that popped once in a while, and the weight of betrayal sitting in the same room like it paid rent. The first morning, I didn't do much. Made instant coffee with expired creamer. Stared out the window at the fog rolling off the water like it had somewhere more important to be. My phone buzzed once, then again. Not calls. Just calendar alerts. One said, dinner with Rory's parents. The other said, brunch tasting at Magnolia's. That second one was in my handwriting. From months ago. Back when she said she wanted to renew our vows for our 10-year anniversary. Back when I thought we were planning a future. She'd replaced that with brunch and ring fittings with another man. I opened her calendar feed. She hadn't removed me yet. Must have forgotten I had full view access. Classic. Always fast to abandon, slow to cover her tracks. I scrolled through her week. Venue tour. Ring resize pickup. Spa day with Lorna. Dinner with R. She wasn't grieving. She was scheduling. She was color-coding her new life while I was sipping freeze-dried bitterness and watching fish not swim. And that's when I realized something. She didn't think I'd do anything. Not just physically, emotionally. She thought I was gone the same way a coffee mug disappears from the cabinet. Not missing. Just moved. She was wrong. By day 3, I had a plan. First, I made a list of what she hadn't changed. Bank accounts, still joint. Utilities, still in both our names. Amazon Prime, still logged in on my laptop. Small things, but powerful. Because while she was picking dresses and posing for candid engagement shots, she didn't realize I still had access to the logistics of her life. So I started small. I logged into our joint bank account and ordered myself a prepaid Visa card. Transferred exactly $118.16, the amount she spent on a bridal glow facial 2 days ago, according to our statements. My money too. Consider it a refund. Then I logged into Amazon and canceled 2 of her scheduled deliveries. Left one active, an expensive throw blanket she wanted for the reading nook she'd never finish. I rerouted it to the lake house. She could keep Rory. I'd take the blanket. Next, I went analog. Grabbed a legal pad and started a new list. This one wasn't about items. It was about truths. Things she didn't know I knew. Things she said while thinking I wasn't listening. Things that mattered more in hindsight. Page 1. He told me I laugh more when I'm not with you. Page 2. Don't take it personally. You'll get over it. Page 3. She said yes. I wasn't writing to remember. I was writing to remind myself that this wasn't a phase. This wasn't a misunderstanding or a bump in the road. This was erasure. And I was done being invisible. On the 5th day, she called. It was late. Almost midnight. Caller ID just said Tessa. I stared at it until it stopped ringing. No voicemail. A minute later, another buzz, a text. Where are you? Another. We need to talk. Then, please just call me. Or come home. Or tell me if you're okay. And finally, Rory thinks I'm crazy for still caring. But I do. I didn't think you'd vanish. I didn't respond. Not because I didn't want to, but because I had already answered. When I left my socks, my slippers, and my toothbrush still in the holder, that was a delay tactic. I wanted her to notice slowly. But now, I wanted her to notice fully. So I picked up the Polaroid I'd left behind, the one from our wedding day. I had scanned it before I left. Used a photo editing app to overlay a new caption across the bottom. Frame this. It's the last time you were sure. I printed 5 copies. One I mailed to her. One to her mother. One to her sister, Lorna. One to Rory's work address. And one I folded and taped to the fridge at the lake house. This wasn't about revenge. This was about returning everything she dropped, including the truth. 2 days later, I got an email from a name I didn't expect. Called her, Rory J. Subject line, be a man. I didn't open it. I forwarded it to my trash folder. Then I took a walk by the lake with a coffee in one hand and the quiet in the other. Because here's the thing, Rory had already won. He got the girl. He got the ring. He got the brunch dates and the venue tours. But I had something he'd never have. The full picture. The moment she stood at that table and said what she said, she revealed more than a mistake. She revealed a pattern. And patterns don't change. They just get bolder. So I smiled. Kept walking. Because the best revenge isn't loud. It isn't violent. It isn't a dramatic slap in a hotel lobby or a public post exposing the lies. The best revenge is surviving so quietly they don't know what part of you is still watching. The thing about disappearing is, no one expects you to stay gone. The first few days, they panic. Call. Text. Check the hospitals. Ask mutual friends. There's urgency in their voices, like it still matters. By week 2, they stop asking if you're coming back and start asking why you left. By week 3, they stop asking altogether. And by then, you've already built your new world without them in it. I hadn't spoken to Tessa in 10 days. Not since she texted me at midnight asking if I was okay, like I was the one who cheated. Like she was the victim of my silence, not the architect of it. But today, I had a reason to break the quiet. Not to her. To him. I started with Rory. Oh, Rory. Polished, preppy, upwardly mobile. A man who probably thought the biggest mistake in his life was buying the wrong brand of hair product. The kind of guy who eats brunch in sunglasses and uses partner, when he means girlfriend, just to sound progressive. I wasn't going to threaten him. I wasn't going to show up on his doorstep or smash his windows or do anything stupid that ends with mugshots and regret. No, I was going to do something worse. I was going to make him think. I created a new email. Burner account. No signature. No trace. Then I found his company's directory. Easy enough. He was proud of his career. Posted about it constantly. Hashtag hustle culture, hashtag Monday motivation. His bio said he handled client acquisitions. Real estate consulting. Translation. Rory had people to impress and optics to maintain. So I sent him a single email. Subject line blank. No greeting. Just 2 attachments and a line of text. The attachments? 1 photo, Tessa and me on our 5th anniversary, smiling in front of the cabin. Her hair in that loose braid she only wore on special days. Her eyes happy in a way I hadn't seen in years. The second, A screenshot of the RSVP page from their wedding site. And the message? Does she smile like that with you? That was it. I didn't need to scream. Just wanted to plant something. A seed. Because Rory may have had her body, but he didn't know her past. Not the way I did. I knew the versions of her that came before the filtered selfies and curated captions. The one who used to cry during car commercials. The one who once said, "If I ever fall out of love with you, I'll tell you before I hurt you." Liar. Later that day, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Didn't answer. Then a voicemail. "Hey, I don't know what you're doing or what you think this is, but you need to stop. This isn't healthy. For anyone." He didn't say his name. He didn't have to. I listened to it twice. Once as a husband. Once as a stranger. Both times, it sounded like panic wrapped in a business voice. I didn't respond. Instead, I made a new list. Not of assets or access points this time. This one was more personal. The truth list. She started pulling away a year ago. She laughed at jokes that weren't mine. She said, "I miss who we were, but never tried to find us again." She left emotionally long before she packed a bag. And I stayed longer than I should have. That last one stung. Not because it was wrong, but because it was true. I sent Tessa a letter next. Not a text. Not a call. A real letter. Stamped. Folded. It arrived on a Thursday. I knew because I still had access to our home security cam notifications. She pulled it from the mailbox, stared at the handwriting, and stood on the porch for a solid minute before going inside. The letter was one page. Handwritten. No rants. No begging. Just this. "You once told me I was your calm in a world full of chaos. I guess you got tired of peace. But here's the thing, Tessa, chaos doesn't love you. It consumes you, then moves on. And when it does, I won't be here to pick up the pieces." That was it. Let her read it next to the vase of lilies I bought her for our last anniversary. The one she forgot to water. A week passed. I heard nothing. Until Saturday. That's when she posted a story. A photo of the lake. My lake. Captioned, "Sometimes silence says more than words ever could." I stared at it. Not because it hurt, but because of the irony. She was trying to turn my silence into a metaphor for her pain. Classic Tessa. Always rewriting the narrative before anyone else can. But I didn't take the bait. Because I wasn't playing the role she'd written for me anymore. She wanted a villain? I gave her a vanishing act. She wanted closure? I gave her a blank page. And Rory? Well, he'd be looking over his shoulder every time she smiled now, wondering who taught her to fake it so well. I ended that day by tossing out the last item from our shared life. A keychain she gave me that said, "Home is wherever I'm with you." I flicked it into the lake. Watched it sink. No dramatic music. No slow tears. Just the sound of ripples breaking the surface, then silence. The lake didn't care. And neither did I. I expected the doorbell to ring first. Or maybe the buzzing of a phone call from a blocked number. Something dramatic, impulsive. Tessa always did love moments that felt cinematic. But that's not what I got. Instead, what came first was a bank notification. Joint account access restricted. Just like that. No warning. No explanation. Just an email that told me what I already knew. The war had officially started. And this time, she wasn't sending letters. She was sending lawyers. I didn't flinch. I made myself coffee, sat on the back deck of the lake house, and stared out over the still water. The clouds were low that morning, gray and sagging like a sky that had given up on pretending. She was trying to cut me out, rewrite the narrative before anyone asked questions. But that was fine, because I already had my insurance policy. 2 days earlier, I'd quietly sent packages to 3 people. Not friends, not enemies, just witnesses. Exhibit A, a copy of our wedding license. Exhibit B, a thumb drive with screen recordings of her texts to Rory. Yes, I had those. Exhibit C, a scanned version of her RSVP card to the bridal shower she was planning before telling me she needed space. I didn't send them with threats. No or else language. Just a simple note. In case I'm edited out of the story. And here's the thing, Tessa would hate that. Not because I went public, but because I didn't ask her permission to. She always liked to own the narrative. Her version of things. The one where she was misunderstood and I was emotionally unavailable. Where Rory was unexpected and we were already distant. Where everything had a neat little bow and no one looked like the bad guy except maybe me, off in the shadows, too quiet to defend myself. Well, I was still quiet. But now I had subtitles. Then came the text. It arrived at 3:14 a.m. Because guilt doesn't sleep. Tessa, you're really doing this? After everything? No hello. No name. Just accusation wrapped in disbelief. I didn't answer. I let it breathe. Then at 3:36 a.m., another. You're trying to ruin me. I laughed. Actually laughed, out loud, alone in a cabin with a blanket over my knees and a cup of tea going cold. Ruin her? She thought what I was doing now was revenge? She had no idea. Revenge is personal. This was structural. I wasn't attacking her. I was removing her. Gently. Completely. Like scraping a name off a door and repainting it. That morning, I called my lawyer. Not a dramatic call. Just logistics. She froze the account, I said. She can't legally do that, he replied. I figured, I said. Let's document it. That's the thing about betrayal. It gets emotional. Messy. People start playing dirty. But I wasn't playing dirty. I was playing smart. The next move was hers. And she made it that afternoon. Through someone else. A knock on the lake house door. A delivery man. Box in hand. No return address. Inside? A sweater of mine. My old keys. My passport. On top of it all? A sticky note. Don't make this uglier than it has to be. I stared at it for a full minute. Because there it was again, her tone. Not regret. Not apology. Control. She still thought she could steer this thing. That if she played the role of the calm, rational party long enough, I'd start to look like the one making a scene. What she didn't know. The scene had already ended. She just hadn't realized the credits were rolling. That night, I sent one last email. This time to Tessa. Simple. Short. I'm not coming back. I don't want half the house. I don't want the car. I just want my name off your future. Keep the ring. It fits your new story better than it ever fit your hand. No signature. Just that. And this time, I blocked her number. For real. No more voicemails. No more late-night texts trying to recast me as the villain. If she wanted closure, she could find it at the bottom of that sticky note. I slept better that night than I had in months. But here's the thing no one tells you. Once you stop caring about the person, you start caring about the principle. And I had one more move left. Not for her. For Rory. But we'll get to that. The funny thing about revenge? Most people assume it starts with rage. Screaming. Smashing. Fury. But the real kind, the kind that gets remembered, it starts with something far colder. Clarity. And after weeks of silence, exile, and watching the woman I married build a new life out of my leftover kindness, I wasn't angry anymore. I was clear. Rory made a mistake. He thought this was just a love triangle. A messy overlap of feelings and bad timing. That I was some emotionally constipated ex-husband licking his wounds in a cabin, muttering into a whiskey glass. He didn't realize I was watching, listening, and waiting. You don't have to punch a man to break him. Sometimes, you just have to hold up a mirror. So I found his weak spot. His job. Rory worked in real estate consulting for a firm that catered to high-end clientele, politicians, developers, donors. The kind of people who consider a poorly chosen brunch spot a liability. And that's where I found my window. I called a friend. Adam. Worked in PR for a company Rory's firm had pitched to 3 months ago. Hey, I need a favor. Background check on a guy named Rory Calder. You hiring him? Something like that. Adam didn't ask more. He sent over a PDF the next morning. 6 pages. Polished. Clean. Except for one thing. A personal conduct flag. Quiet. Undisclosed relationship with a client's spouse during active negotiations. Not illegal. Not even technically actionable. Just frowned upon. And that was all I needed. I printed it, highlighted the line, and mailed it anonymously to 3 addresses. Rory's employer. The firm's senior partner. And Rory's father, who, according to a quick Google search, was a donor on the firm's advisory board. The goal wasn't to get him fired. It was to introduce tension. Whispers. Raised eyebrows. The kind of silence that follows you into elevators and meetings. The kind that makes you sweat through your dress shirt before you've even opened your laptop. The kind Tessa used to create in our kitchen without raising her voice. I figured it was time Rory got a taste of that. Days passed. I didn't hear anything directly, of course. That was the point. But Tessa? She finally broke. I got a voicemail from a number I didn't recognize. Her voice. Tight. Controlled. Whatever you think you're doing, it's not going to work. You're just making yourself look bitter. You're better than this. I replayed that last line twice. You're better than this. What she meant was, you're supposed to be predictable. Safe. forgiving, disposable. But I wasn't anymore. I was her unfinished business. The next day, I did something completely uncharacteristic. I got dressed. Properly. Collared shirt. Jacket. The kind of outfit I used to wear when we went to friends' weddings, back when Tessa still liked the way I looked in dark blue. And I drove to the city. I didn't go to her house. I didn't go to his office. I went to the coffee shop where she used to write in her journal on Sundays. She once told me, "It's the one place I can think clearly." I sat at the window seat, ordered her drink, almond milk chai with a shot of espresso. And I waited. Not for her, but for closure. On the napkin, I wrote 2 lines. Some people burn bridges. You built yours with kerosene. I left it tucked under the cup. Didn't wait for her to find it. I was already halfway back to the lake house before she even knew I'd been there. That night, the power flickered. Storm rolled over the water like a slow exhale. I sat by the window, a glass of bourbon in hand, and let the thunder talk for me. She had the ring. She had the brunch. She had the new man, the spa days, the smiling selfies. But I had something she'd never get back. Peace. And the knowledge that when she finally looked around her new life, shiny, curated, and hollow, she'd always wonder, what version of me did I leave behind? The letter arrived on a Thursday. Not from Tessa. From her lawyer. Simple envelope. Firm logo in the corner. The kind of thing that turns a man's stomach before he even opens it. Inside? A formal request for mediation. Her signature underneath. Bold. Confident. She was officially filing. She wanted the house. The car. Some money from the joint account. No mention of guilt. No acknowledgement of fault. Just a settlement, like we were splitting office supplies, not a life. And that would have been fine if I hadn't read the fine print. Buried halfway down the page, next to the phrase irreconcilable differences, was one curious clause. Both parties agree to keep the details of their separation private and refrain from distributing damaging materials or allegations to third parties. That's when I laughed. Because there it was. The panic. Dressed up in lawyer speak. She wasn't worried about money. She was worried about the truth. The packages. The letters. The whispers I'd already let loose. The silence was no longer safe for her. It echoed too loud. So I didn't respond. Not with a lawyer. Not with a counter. I just sent her a text. My first in weeks. We don't need a courtroom, Tessa. You already sentenced yourself. Blocked her number again before she could reply. She could keep her legal team. I had something better. Proof. One morning, a week later, I got a call from a mutual friend. Dave. Used to host game nights, Tessa, and I would dominate like we trained for it. He sounded hesitant. Hey, man, listen, I'm not picking sides. But, I heard about the wedding. What about it? Well, there isn't one. Silence. Rory called it off. Quietly. No big scene. Just canceled the venue, took his name off the registry. I didn't say anything. People are asking questions. She hasn't said much. I thought you'd want to know. I did. Not because I needed revenge, but because I needed proof that the truth doesn't need a microphone. It just needs time. Tessa had spent weeks spinning her new life like it was silk. But even silk unravels if you pull the wrong thread. Apparently, Rory found his. Maybe it was the emails. The whispers. Maybe it was just watching her in the rearview mirror and realizing the woman in his passenger seat looked too practiced. Whatever it was, he folded. And just like that, the house of curated Instagram captions and cafe latte selfies came crashing down. I went back to the house one final time. Not to reclaim anything. I didn't want the couch. I didn't want the bookshelves or the wedding china she swore we'd use but never did. I just wanted one photo. There was a frame on the bedroom dresser, us in Maine, back when we still thought shared laughter meant permanence. Her head on my shoulder. Sand in her hair. The world still small and quiet. She wasn't home. I knew she wouldn't be. Her car wasn't in the driveway. Her porch light was flickering like it couldn't make up its mind. I walked through the front door using the spare key hidden in the fake rock she always said was too obvious. The house smelled different. Colder. Not lived in, just occupied. There was a note on the table. Not addressed to me. Just left there like a thought she couldn't finish. I'm sorry it ended this way. That was it. Not sorry I lied. Not sorry I cheated. Just this way. Like it was the weather. Like betrayal was a scheduling issue. I left the note. Took the photo. Then I walked out the front door without locking it. If she wanted closure, she could find it in the echo of my footsteps on hardwood. It's been 6 months now. No messages. No drama. No last-minute pleadings in a driveway while rain falls like a movie set. Tessa moved cities. Tried to reset. Rory? Last I heard, he transferred firms. Switched industries. Real estate wasn't as forgiving as he'd hoped. And me? I still wake up by the lake. Still drink my coffee slow. Still sit with the quiet. Only now, it doesn't sting. It soothes. People ask if I miss her. I tell them I miss who she used to be. The version that laughed without needing someone else to spark it. The version that didn't need an audience. But that version? She left long before I did. So no, I don't miss her. I just remember her. And sometimes, when the wind hits the lake just right, I whisper to myself, "You left me first. I just made it permanent." The truth? I didn't take revenge. I just removed myself from her lie. And the silence I left behind? It still speaks louder than anything she's ever said.